Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. It was an up-and-down night of Husker hoops yesterday as the women's program picked up a huge overtime win over the Oregon Ducks at home, 94-90, while the men's team lost big at Penn State, 89-72. Alexis Markowski recorded a career-high 35 points and a season-high 15 boards as she put together her 50th career double-double. The senior drained 6 of the 15 made threes on the night for Nebraska as well. That was win number 18 for Coach Amy Williams' squad on the season, whereas the men fell to a 17-10 record on the year, led by Andrew Morgan's 18 points against the Nittany Lions. In Husker gymnastics news, it was announced that 3 athletes would compete in the USA Gymnastics Winter Cup. Alex Natasha, Taylor Christopoulos, and Caden Clinton are headed to Louisville, Kentucky for a weekend of events, starting tomorrow and ending on Sunday, February 23rd. They'll be competing against representatives from Michigan, Stanford, and Air Force as the 3 Huskers look to be named to the 2025 national team. The Nebraska beach volleyball team will get underway here this weekend, too. They'll be escaping the frigid weather in Lincoln and compete in Florida against Stetson and Stephen F. Austin. The Huskers are coming off a 16-11 record last year, which was the most wins in beach volleyball program history. To find out the projected pairs that will take to the sand this weekend, head to Huskers.com for more information. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Let's take it now to hour number 1 of Sports Nightly, coming right up on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Off screen by Mia, rejects the screen, has a double on him for the moment, comes to the right on the rescreen by Mia, bounces it inside, and the layup by Worcester, the drop off, and the layup is good! Mia, oh my! Mia puts it up, and Nebraska up by 3 with under a minute to go.
Moriarty, she's in the deep right corner, back to Rimdole, high on the right side. 7 to shoot, high lob, caught by Petrie, somehow underneath, in trouble, got to Hank for 3, yay! Gotcha! Huskers made something out of nothing. I don't know how Petrie got it to Kellen Hank, who buried the Central Valley Egg 3.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. That ball's lifted into left field. It's deep. It's going back. And that ball is gone. A 2-run blast for Gabe Swanson. And it's 6-2 Nebraska.
The pitch. Tome swings and lifts this one deep down the right field line. It is hooking. It is a fair ball. Grand slam for Tomes. And Nebraska with a 15-1 lead.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday to you. Welcome into the show. I am Jessica Coody. Appreciate you tuning in here tonight. We got lots of sports going on as it is crossover season. We got a fun show lined up for you tonight. We're going to talk some Husker baseball with Nick Handley in hour 2. Matt Coatney going to be stopping by to talk about that huge win for the Huskers. Women's basketball, as Jake just mentioned in the ticker, overtime win over Oregon last night. We're going to break down that one and what's to come for the Huskers with Matt Coatney coming up hour number 2. Nate Rohr is on the air right now. Huskers leading Baylor in their first game of lots of games out there in California in the Mary Nutter Classic, one of the premier college softball tournaments. They're in action right now, so we're going to check in with Nate. Hopefully maybe hear the end of the game. Jordy Ball is pitching lights out once again. She is off to an incredible start, the National Player of the Week. So we'll talk some Husker softball here as well. I just want to say thank you so much to all the positive words that we have received dating back to Tuesday night for our tribute show for Greg Sharp. Thank you for participating, for listening in. I just appreciate all the kind words and for you guys allowing us to have that on Tuesday night. We didn't have enough time to get to everything, and all the people I know that wanted to be a part of that show. Ben joked that was probably the first time in a long time that we had wished we had 3 hours or a longer show here on Sports Nightly. But just appreciate all the kind words. It was therapeutic for me. And, I said this a couple different times on the show on Tuesday night that I fully believe that Greg Sharp would want us to talk Husker sports here on Sports Nightly and return to our regular scheduled programming. It's going to be a process and a day-to-day type of thing for us as we mourn the loss of just a tremendous loss and someone that meant so much to us here on the Huskers Radio Network. But as I've said a few different times, I mean, it was up until the week before his last week here on Earth that he was very much a part of the show. And leading into the opening weekend for Husker softball, he was wanting us to put them on the air. And so he was sending me ideas and he loves Sports Nightly. He's passionate about the show. And so he would want us to talk about Husker sports. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of them because, as mentioned, it is crossover season. It's a busy, busy weekend for us here on the Huskers Radio Network. But I did mention on Tuesday night, we had so many texts that came in throughout the course of those 2 hours for what Greg meant to our listeners here on the Huskers Radio Network. So I did want to read a few of those here to start. And I'll get to as many of them as I can here over the next hour. But Gary in Kansas texted in, I have called high school football and basketball for over 20 years. Greg's professionalism stood out above all others. He was always prepared. I was able to call into the show about a year ago and talk to him about his first game as a Husker play-by-play guy. He was one of us from that very first game. And again, that was from Gary in Kansas. Dennis texted in a great story. He said, it was a football Saturday, Armed Forces Day. I had 2 extra tickets for the game. I gave them to Greg. He announced on the radio that any military person with an ID card that wanted to go to the game would get 2 free tickets. Thanks, Greg. You could have said no. Going to miss your football game play-by-play. Sam in Omaha said, I always appreciated Greg's depth of knowledge. When I had a question or fact check, he always had an answer and was right 99% of the time. I'll miss him and his professionalism. We had a lot of people that were referencing Lyle Bremser and Greg Sharp, a lot of different text messages. This is one from Carol, wanted to chime in on the tribute to Sharpie. It seems fitting to mention that I cut my teeth, so to speak, listening to Lyle Bremser back in the early 1950s. I never forgot that voice. It was a classic. Then came Greg in a new Huskers era who epitomized live Nebraska football broadcast. Greg will be sorely missed. He picked up any and all pieces that Lyle might have dropped along the way, beginning the very day he started Husker broadcast. Andy in Phoenix said he met Greg at GCU series last year. He said, I knew I was in the presence of greatness. I was so nervous. All I had was a baseball glove I found at the ballpark. I tried giving it to him. He laughed and said, I don't need that. We have never met before, but he knew my name from this show. I've saved the videos of him replying to my texts on the show and will cherish them the rest of my life. Rest in peace, Greg. And this is a great one. This one's from Coach A in Lincoln. He said, prayers of comfort for Greg and his family. I lost my father to pancreatic cancer in February of 2011 at 59. I'm going to miss Greg's enthusiasm and energy. He will always be the gold standard for Husker announcing. I'm praying that we will find a cure to this dreaded disease. Amen to that. Trying to read a few of them here. This one did not have, let's see here. John from Kansas, here we go. As good as Greg was calling a football game, and he was right up there with Lyle Bremser, he was even better calling a home run shot. I loved him as a baseball announcer. So again, we had so many roll in. It was overwhelming, and we appreciate so much all of those kind words and your stories, as well as we got to share a lot of our favorite stories and what Greg meant to us. This one from Mark in Battle Creek. He said, hi, everyone. Mark in Battle Creek, Nebraska here. Heavy hearts for all Husker fans and Greg fans. Change is hard. Radio is very special, and we all have an intimate relationship with you all through your words and the emotions in your voices. It doesn't happen overnight, but Greg and all of you have become our best friends at least once a week during the football season and beyond through Sports Nightly. Listening to you all tonight shows what an impact Greg had on all of you, and best of all, a little of Greg comes through in your personalities in all of you. Jessica, you once served as the bridge, but have become the beacon for Husker Radio. You were once a change that was not hard to accept, and now more than ever, we need you and the rest of the broadcast team to carry on. Thank you all for what you do, what you say, and the professionalism that you exhibit each time we hear you. Husker proud, GBR, love you guys. Thank you so much for that kind text, Mark in Battle Creek. And I said that in a little bit away to Greg. One of the last texts that I sent him, I just thanked him because he he poured a lot into me, and he was sending me emails and texts, as I mentioned, just even making sure that I was ready to do what I needed to do to carry on this show. And I said, your voice is going to live on through a lot of people that you poured into and you impacted. And there's no doubt that he has impacted all of us here. And I think you heard that in the stories and things that we shared on Tuesday night. So, I'm going to continue to try to read through a few more of those throughout this next hour. But I'm so appreciative of those kind words that came in. And I know he meant a lot to a lot of people. But we're going to work in our first break here because we want to try to sync some things up with Nate Rohr, who's calling a big softball game for us here tonight. So let's step aside for a break, and we'll try to join Nate Rohr out in California on the other side of this. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
The signs are everywhere. It's time for Truck Month at your Midwest Ford dealers. Get $3,000 cash on Super Duty and save on Ford F-150. Both part of F-Series, America's best-selling truck lineup for 48 years. Hurry in, folks. These trucks are running. Drive a new Ford Super Duty with $3,000 cash or 1.9% financing. Only at your Midwest Ford dealers, driven by value.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The signs are everywhere. It's time for Truck Month at your Midwest Ford dealers. Get up to $6,000 cash on F-150 and save on Ford Super Duty. Both part of F-Series, America's best-selling truck lineup for 48 years. Hurry in, folks. These trucks are running. Drive a new Ford F-150 with up to $6,000 cash or 1.9 financing plus $3,250 cash. Only at your Midwest Ford dealers, driven by value.
Life is busy. Wouldn't it be great if someone could help you manage your insurance?
Well, I do have a lot to keep on top of. Between the house, my life insurance, the car. Like you said, life is busy.
A local Trusted Choice independent insurance agent can help you with your research, coverage selection, pricing, and claims at no extra cost to you.
Which means I'll have more time to spend on other things.
Trusted Choice independent insurance agents. We'll help do your insurance. You just do you.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule. With your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest's premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. As we welcome you back to Sports Nightly, Nebraska softball in action right now. In fact, trying to lock up a win over Baylor, leading 4-1 in the bottom of the seventh with one out. Let's send things out to Nate Rohr, who's on the call for us right now on the Huskers Radio Network.
Tips away from Bredwell, the catcher, and Waddell will come in to score, and Baylor's on the board here in the seventh. Pitch in the dirt, took a high hop, caromed off to Bredwell's right. Eva could not find it. By the time she tracked it down, the Huskers had no chance on Waddell, who scores to make it 4-1 Nebraska in the bottom of the seventh. Bases empty, 2 outs. 1-0 the count to Wachtendorf. Ball delivers. Wachtendorf takes over the outside corner for a strike. We're even at 1. That'll go in the books as an unearned run since Waddell reached on the Husker error. Scores after 2 wild pitches. 1-1 the count. 2 outs, no one on. Jordy of the line. And her 1-1. Wachtendorf weakly waves at that one and misses for a strike. Now 1-2. Base is empty. 2 outs here in the bottom of the seventh. Huskers gunning for their 6th straight win. The line pipe ball, her 1-2 pitch. Wachtendorf swings and misses. She's down on strikes, and Nebraska opens the Mary Nutter Classic with a 4-1 win over the Baylor Bears. 6th straight win for Nebraska. The Huskers get out to a good start here in Southern California. Jordy Ball does what Jordy Ball does, and the Huskers win it over Baylor. Final score 4-1. Post game in a minute. This is Big Red Softball.
All right, well, we got there just in time to hear the final call. Nate is going to check back in with us once he signs off with the post-game show, and we can break down this win and also preview a big one coming up tonight against UCLA, 4th-ranked team in the country. UCLA, part of the Big Ten, but not on Nebraska's schedule to play as a part of the conference lineup. So this is a big opportunity for the Huskers, and so we're going to talk about that one coming up here in just a few minutes with Nate as soon as he can sign off there and catch his breath a little bit. He's going to join us here on Sports Nightly. But a big win there as the Huskers knock off Baylor, 4-1 win in their first game of the Mary Nutter Classic. Okay, let's read a couple more texts that we got on Thursday night as a part of our Greg Sharp tribute show. This one is from Wayne in Colorado. My son would come over for football games. We would turn radio on and turn TV down. We will miss him. You are all great. Thanks. And then we were talking a lot the other night about Josh Hilgeman did a great job cutting up some great calls, some of the iconic calls from Greg Sharp throughout the years. And so we had a debate going on in our YouTube chat and people texting in some of their favorite calls from Greg. And so we had a couple people chime in on that. This text is from Brandon. He said, this entire household in Missouri Valley, Iowa has loved hearing Greg's voice. I called in one night when Greg was hosting Sports Nightly, and he is a treat to talk to. He said, also remember his Taylor Martinez, welcome to Husker land, as called from the 2010 matchup between Nebraska and the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Though Greg may not be with us physically, he is with all of us fans, broadcasters, and staff alike. And then this one, I cherish our memories at the games and watching the pre-show with Greg, Matt D, and Lane Grindle. Greg was always so caring and gave wholeheartedly to his job. He would always have a hug for me. Listening to old broadcasts make our family laugh and cry. Matt sounds like a little girl, and Greg is every ounce of proud pouring out of his mouth, cheering their Huskers on. I also will never forget these words on Sports Nightly saying, our good friend, Carrie from Alliance. He helped me through my grief losing Bo. My heart hurts deeply, but I feel blessed to have known him. The university was so very lucky to have this man supporting them 100%. God's peace. So thankful again for all these texts that came in. And his brother Doug actually texted in also, and he said, hi, Jessica. Greg told me once that one of his favorite games that he called was the Gator Bowl against Georgia. So there you go. That was one of Greg's favorite games. We had... Jake had this in the ticker, had a couple of games, had a roller coaster of emotions last night with Husker basketball. The men, tough loss on the road at Penn State, 89-72. And they had been playing with fire on the road, not getting out to great starts. They were fortunate to come back and win a couple of those, but that was not a great loss at Penn State, one of the worst teams in the league. And so Huskers need to bounce back win, a big one on Monday night against Michigan. That would be another quad win team. And it's just not a good time to have a bad loss. It's crazy to say that there are some losses that are better than others, but there absolutely are. And that one was not a good loss for Nebraska. So hopefully they can get back in the win column on Monday night against Michigan. And, heard Coach Hoiberg saying on that road trip, really played 15 minutes of good basketball, and that's just not going to cut it. And this is the time of year you want to start putting together your best basketball. And, it's also tough, too, without Berke Butengel, as we've really highlighted here over the last couple of weeks and had Coach Hoiberg on the show. He's starting to really, really find his stride. He was shooting it really well, and his ability to stretch the floor and knock down some threes really was a big asset for this team. And so I think they've really missed him over these last couple of games. Hopefully he is continuing to trend towards making a return. That would be a big, big lift. But, I know disappointing loss, but hopefully they can get back in the win column. Even though Penn State, yes, it's a bad loss, and it's, one of the lower teams in the standings. It's just such a gauntlet in this conference. You have to be ready to play, and you cannot allow teams like that to get some confidence early on and just to not get off to a great start, and which has been an issue for this team this entire season. But luckily they're back at home on Monday, where they've played pretty darn well over the course of this season. So big one against Michigan, which will be a tough matchup, but would be another really good resume builder. And then we were uplifted with a huge win for Nebraska women's basketball, and I just continue to be so blown away by this team and their resiliency and how they have handled the punches throughout this entire season with the losses, the huge injuries that they have had and they have been dealt with. And, we're going to talk to Matt Coatney coming up here in a little bit and dive into this game more, but no Britt Prince, which has been a big, big part of this team and what this team has been able to accomplish even without Natalie Potts and Allison Widener. And so they were able to respond, and Alexis Markowski goes off for career high 35 points, season high 15 rebounds for her 50th career double-double, hit 6 threes. And we had her on the show a couple weeks ago, and she had talked about how that was had been a struggle for her this season, was shooting from the outside. And so for her to be able to knock down those threes was a big part of that win. But Callan Hake Purdy Rimdahl, absolutely massive. And Jess Petrie had some huge rebounds that I don't know if this team wins that game without her. It was a group effort. They came together and they had it was a really important win for this team to find a way to win. You got to keep stacking those wins. They don't care who's out, who's in. When you have to have those wins on that resume to be able to get into the NCAA tournament. And so that was a big win for this team. And again, we'll dive into a lot more of that coming up with Matt Coatney in hour number 2. We're going to work at another break. I think maybe on the other side of this, we'll be ready to welcome in Nate Rohr and talk about the win over Baylor, preview another big game for Husker softball coming up against UCLA. So let's work at another break, and then hopefully we'll be able to hear from Nate Rohr. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
Central Valley Ag is excited to introduce CVA Power Flock Layer Feed, the feed that works as hard as your hens. Boost your flock's performance with increased egg mass, a longer productive lifespan, and more sellable eggs. For a limited time, get a free feed scoop with your first purchase of 100 pounds of CVA Power Flock. Visit CVACoop.com to learn more. Our planet is hungry. Together, we feed it. Central Valley Ag, the official co-op of Husker Nation.
Shop Woodhouse Mazda, the Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers, and find the perfect vehicle for your next adventure. Receive 2.9% APR for 60 months on select models, like the 2025 Mazda CX-30 or the 2025 Mazda CX-50. Visit us in-store or online at woodhousemazda.com or woodhouseplacemazda.com today. With approved credit, tax, title, license extra, when financed with Mazda Financial Services. $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires 2/28/2025. See dealer for details.
As the world's largest family-owned and operated manufacturer of grain storage, drying, and handling equipment, Sukup Manufacturing Company has led the way in innovation, offering top-notch products that empower farmers to thrive. Get ready to tackle your agricultural challenges with Sukup, where innovation meets reliability. Visit sukup.com to find your dealer today.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game, thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked.
My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Husker fans, if you're looking for a fulfilling career that's financially rewarding and provides flexibility, your local insurance agency is hiring. No matter your skills or interests, there are opportunities for you in the insurance industry. Explore the many ways you can use your skills to protect your community by checking out the IIAN job board. Find your calling and be a part of an industry that makes a difference. Go to iian.org/careers today.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Jessica Coody here with you on this Thursday evening. Husker softball fresh off a big win over Baylor, 4-1 out there in the Mary Nutter Classic, one of the premier college softball tournaments all throughout this entire country in college softball to kick things off each and every season. And Nate Rohr was on the call for us. Nate, another one in the win column for Husker softball. That was a good one. You were pretty happy with how this team played in that one.
Yeah, the defense was, again, a little wobbly, and that's been maybe my greatest complaint about this team through 11 games, is they're still trying to find their footing defensively. And that was exacerbated by the absence of Ava Cusack, who was battling some concussion-like symptoms this week and is not available for the 2 games today. And so, especially where you're without your shortstop, that leads to defensive discontinuity. And Nebraska had a little bit of trouble with that in this game, but not huge. And as a result, other than the defense, the offense did enough. Baylor's got a nice little pitching staff, but Huskers came up with a couple of runs in the 6th to really ice it, and a home run from Bella Bacon. And the bottom of the order was really productive and took advantage of scoring chances. So a lot to like against a Baylor team that had just fallen out of the national rankings. They're going to be around the top 25 all year long. They're going to be a top 25. They're going to be an NCAA tournament team, I think. So a nice win and a nice way to get this Mary Nutter Classic started, because it can be really tough here. And the Huskers historically have had a tough time. So to get that first win is a good thing.
Well, Jordy Ball once again pitches another complete game. She's with the reigning National Player of the Week. She's proven to be a pretty good softball player, not just pitcher. But take us through the decision for this coaching staff to throw her in Game 1 instead of throwing her against UCLA, which is coming up here in little less than 3 hours away or so. Why did they make that call to go with Jordy here in Game 1?
Well, I think they wanted to set a tone for the rest of the weekend. You want to come out and be able to have some confidence and feel like you're playing well at the jump from the beginning. Rhonda Revelle talked about it like this is our Friday night when you think about a Friday night starter in baseball. And so you want that tone setter to come out and set things up for you. And she did that. She pitched through a little bit of difficulty the Huskers created for themselves in the 5th inning, and then they allowed a run in the 7th that was kind of cosmetic. It reached on an error and a couple of wild pitches. So it was no indictment on Jordy that they were even able to push the run across in the 7th that they did. But you feel very good about the tone that has been set for the rest of the weekend with the way the Huskers played in this one. And, the fact that Jordy pitched this first game does not preclude her coming out of the bullpen in the second game. She threw 93 pitches, so obviously to throw a complete game would be beyond what she could do, I would think. But, especially if Nebraska gets out to an early lead against UCLA, Now, there's nothing stopping the Huskers from bringing ball in at about the 5th inning and trying to lock the game down.
I know people in the state that watched her play high school are fully aware of how good her bat is, but if you followed just her college career, the couple seasons that she was at Oklahoma, didn't really get to fully see that. How impressive is Jordy Bahl as the complete softball player, especially here to start this season?
Well, she certainly exceeded my expectations as a hitter because, we see pitchers hitting quite often in softball, more so in baseball. They let people go both ways, but even somebody like Nigeri Kennedy with Texas Tech, she hits some, and she had a critical home run against the Huskers in that game against Texas Tech the first weekend of the year. But she is a career under 200 hitter, so it's not like she's a consistent threat up there, whereas Jordy Bahl has just been so off at the plate, and then her athleticism makes her as dangerous as a regular top-of-the-order hitter in terms of beating out infield singles, stretching singles into doubles, doubles into triples, getting you an extra base. She's at first with one out, and she stretches she gets 2 bases on what should have been a single, and so she is just she's such a force in that way, to where she might be the most complete player I've ever seen in terms of hit for power, run, catch, throw, pitch at a elite level. She would be a top-notch outfielder if she just played outfield. She would be an All-America level hitter if that's all she hit. But instead, she hits at an All-America level and then also pitches like crazy.
Wow. Well, you had mentioned...
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. No Ava Cusack tonight, who's been the starting shortstop. She also leads the nation in home runs. How does that speak to the depth of this team, that they were able to beat a team like Baylor without their starting shortstop and their leading home run hitter here to start the season?
Well, it certainly is a very good thing for Nebraska that they were able to overcome Cusack's absence, because Cusack has been very, very productive at the top of the order. And as you look at this team, I think Rhonda Revelle is still trying to define rules in the batting order, positionally. But, one of the two that was totally locked down, leadoff spot in the lineup, playing shortstop every single game, was Ava Cusack. And so when you take out one of those certainties, it just makes the rest of the structure a little more wobbly. But then you had people stepping up, and the bottom of the order was really productive tonight. I mean, Anna Kamenzen drives in a couple of runs. Bella Bacon comes up with a home run. So it makes you feel really good, and it adds some credence to the idea that Rhonda Revelle had at the beginning of the year, where she said that 1 through 9, this is going to be a really tough lineup.
You had mentioned at the beginning that, maybe a little concerning, maybe not concerning. I forgot the exact word you used. You would have liked to have seen the defense be a little bit better, but what is the level of concern, and is it maybe more so just here in the early goings of the season, trying to figure out that rhythm of playing defensively and working out with a lot of new people that are playing together for the first time?
I think that there is some of that will be worked out in this first month or so of the season, as this team gets on the dirt more consistently, is able to play outside more consistently, is able to grow continuity between Cusack and Lauren Kamenzen in the middle infield and Simi Bland at third base. So there is some of this that can get tightened up. I don't know that this team is going to be a great defensive team. I don't know that they're going to be quite as good defensively, especially on the infield, as they were last year. I mean, you think about last year on the infield, Billy Andrews had been there forever, and I think she was a little more consistent with the glove than Cusack, even at her best. But, Bland getting used to infield again at the college level after playing it in high school, and just the whole thing coming back together. Sidney Gray had been a fixture at third base, so I don't know that this team will ever quite get to where last year's was defensively. But you also have a pitcher in Jordy Ball that's a high strikeout pitcher. And so while you want to take care of business behind her, it isn't as compulsory as it was last year when it really felt like the entire staff, after Ball's injury, was more pitch to contact than anything else.
All right, well, big one coming up tonight, a late one, 9:30 scheduled first pitch against UCLA, number 4 team in the country, one of the perennial powers of collegiate softball. Tell us about UCLA and what kind of matchup this might be. We talked about Jordy throwing in the first game for the Huskers. You still didn't know when we started this interview who was going to be pitching for UCLA to determine who the Huskers might face, but break this matchup down for us that we can listen to late night tonight.
Yeah, Huskers softball after dark as they take on the Bruins. And, this is a very typical Bruins team, ton of talent, ton of ability. Caitlin Terry's an All-American level pitcher. She's back for them. Taylor Tinsley is back for them in the circle. Lots of familiar names at the top of the order. I think what impresses me the most about UCLA as I look at them is what they have added to this team. Jessica Clements was a 2-time batting champ in the Big West Conference at Cal Poly, and she's plugged right into this lineup and done really well for UCLA. She came into today hitting .455, and then you naturally have the pieces around her. But they have added freshmen at third base, at shortstop, at left field, and at catcher, and they plugged right in. So, it's a typical UCLA where they have a ton of talent. They've got elite players at every position. They have enough experience back. That might be the one concern, is do they have enough experience back? I think they've got enough to be another national championship contender. These people start with Oklahoma City in June on their day planners, and they have shown me nothing in the first couple of weeks of the year that would tell me that that's not a reality for them. They had a surprising loss to wrap up their time in Clearwater, losing to Virginia, but that's just a bump in the road. They handled 3 other ranked teams pretty well in Clearwater last weekend. So it's going to be a real challenge. And yet, you think about where this Husker team is this year, compare them to where they were last year in this tournament, and Nebraska had a lead on UCLA. And UCLA needed a furious 5-run rally in the bottom of the 7th inning to beat the Huskers. Now they got it done, and it hurts that they got it done, but it just goes to show Nebraska was 3 outs away from beating UCLA essentially in a home game for them in a much more compromised state. So I think Nebraska should be able to put up a heck of a battle. I'll be very interested to see where the Huskers go in terms of a starting pitcher. I think it'd be surprising. I think Jordy Ball will be ready in relief. The other thought here is, Nebraska plays just 1 game tomorrow. Yes, against Duke. I assume Ball will start that. The 2 games Saturday, San Jose State and Howard, you might start Jordy one of those. So, the workload gets a little lighter as the week goes on. Maybe you're more inclined to spend her bullets early with the idea that you can get through, especially Saturday, with Emerson Cope and Kamenzen and Kylie McGee and what have you. She's not going to start the second game, but it wouldn't surprise me, especially if the Huskers get an early lead, if Ball is brought on and comes into the game and pitches out of the pen in relief.
And a reminder, too, as you just mentioned, this is what you face when you go to the Mary Nutter Classic, is ranked opponents and great competition. And so they got another big one tomorrow against Duke, another ranked opponent. But you had your ice cream. We saw that. You posted on social media you had your ice cream. You're in shorts. You're avoiding the sun. Yes. But the guys in the chat want to know if you have your caffeine ready, how you're going to be able to take us into the Husker softball after dark, late night listening.
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to have to at least track down a pop. I don't know that I'm going to go coffee. You know, I'm typically a hot coffee guy. It's a little too warm for that, though I've been known to down coffee in 80-something degree heat or real warmth. I will track down some Coke or some Dr. Pepper. I'm more of a Dr. Pepper man, if I'm being very honest. But there's caffeine somewhere around this ballpark, and I mean, it's UCLA. Their fans are going to be up and fired up for it. There are a ton of Husker fans here, between parents who have made the trip. There are snowbirds down here in Southern California. Even one of Rhonda Revell's teammates, Cindy Arney, who is on the teams in the 80s with Rhonda, is here at the ballpark. So a ton of Husker support as well. That ought to keep me up, if nothing else.
So you're a pop, not soda. You call it pop, not soda.
No, it's pop. It's pop. I don't know where this foolish idea of soda came in. It's pop. Come on. What are we doing here?
Also, we've had a couple of questions. Not on TV unless you want to purchase $30 Flow subscription. So you can listen to Nate all weekend long on the Huskers app and Huskers.com, and you've worked out the connection issues. We had a little bit earlier, but you've worked that through, and so you're ready for Husker Nation to all tune in over the weekend.
Yes, yeah, we had some connection issues, but, this is a multi-field tournament. I mean, most people, I think, have been to rec league complexes. Now this is a little classier. Like, they have chairback seats. They have backdrops of major league ballparks. The complex is called Big League Dreams. And so where the slow pitch fence would be, there's a backdrop. Like the ballpark we're at right now, it looks like the bleachers of Wrigley Field. And they have a replica of the hand-operated scoreboard and center. They have Yankee Stadium. They have Fenway Park as well. But it's still a multi-field complex, so we don't quite have what you would have normally for a press box, normally for connections. But we're making it work. We ran a string all the way from Cathedral City to Lincoln, and the tin cans are all set, and we're good to go.
What time? You have a set time you're going on the air?
We are shooting for 9:15, 9:30 first pitch. We'll keep you updated on my Twitter account at Rohr the Crowd, and also on the Huskers softball Twitter account. Looks like Mizzou and UCLA is going to start, if not dead on time, then pretty much on time, to where at the very least we're not going to be going in late. But, Mizzou's a pretty good team. They're nationally ranked. The Huskers are going to see them a couple of times next week. So this could be a pretty good battle as well.
All right, last quick question for you, because, we were talking about this during Greg Sharp's tribute show, that he's a ketchup on his hot dog guy. What do you like on your hot dog?
I'm a ketchup and mustard guy. I'll have a dalliance with relish here and there, which is crazy because I hate pickles. But, especially with brats. Brats, I'll go mustard and relish and maybe kraut. But hot dogs, I'm a child. It's ketchup and mustard. I will invite the scorn of any Chicagoans listening. It's a hot dog. It's stuff of a pig or stuff of a cow that they didn't want anyway. You're really going to get persnickety about what condiment we're putting on this thing? Come on.
You're fired up today.
Ketchup
I love
and
it.
Mustard.
Thanks again for spending some time with us. We'll let you go get some pop and ice cream or whatever it is you might need to get ready to go for another big one coming up here about 9:15 or so, that you'll be on the air with us at the first pitch, scheduled for 9:30 between Nebraska and UCLA. Thanks, Nate.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, we're back with more to wrap up hour number 1 coming up after this.
If you've been looking for a reason to fill up your car with unleaded 88, how about this? Unleaded 88
can help you save big at the pump
and save the planet by cutting greenhouse gas emissions.
Any car 2001 or newer is approved to use unleaded 88. Speaking of good, it's made from corn, which is great for farmers.
As I was saying, if you need a reason to choose unleaded 88, there you have them. Unleaded 88. Engine smart, earth kind. Visit chooseunleaded88.com to learn more.
Hey, Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule. With your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Had a couple of texts come in on our text line. Sue checked in and said the women's basketball game was great. I was really proud of them. Most people don't realize they have 60% of their starters out with injuries. Yeah, I mean, it is unbelievable how much this team just continues to respond. And as Matt Coatney has talked about, that Amy Williams said before the show, everybody's talking about who's not available. Let's make it about who is playing for the Huskers. And they had a big win against Oregon last night. Rick in Wahoo said, great win by the Husker softball team tonight. Yes, let's see if they can get another great win here coming up in a couple of hours. Big one against number 4 UCLA. So tune in, listen to Nate. If you don't want to pay for the Flow subscription, I think it's $30 if you want just for the month. So I looked at that earlier, so I will be listening to Nate. But yeah, so big one coming up against UCLA. And also did want to mention too, if you listen to our tribute show on Tuesday night, Nate told the story about the hot dog that I cannot say it right, but the hot dog gun thing that they use. I don't say it right. I apologize. I'm really sorry. But that it hit him in the booth. He found the clip for us, and so he posted it on his Twitter account. You can listen to it now. We'll have to play it for him and play it sometime here on the show because it is hilarious. I was crying. I was in tears listening to that story. So you can go listen to that, as we told him you got to find that clip. So he did. He found it. All right. I was also told here over the last few minutes that if you want to check out the Nebraska men's basketball game on Monday night against Michigan, there are a very, very limited number of tickets left. If you want to be inside Pinnacle Bank Arena, it's a big one against Michigan. The Huskers need to get back in the win column, and they need to put some more wins together to make sure they're still considered a bubble type team. So they need another big win, another quad one win would bode well for them on their NCAA tournament resume. So a big one on Monday night. Also, we're going to talk more about this coming up here in hour number 2, but senior day on Sunday for Nebraska women's basketball. So be there inside Pinnacle Bank Arena to celebrate and send these seniors out. What an incredible group of seniors led by Alexis Markowski, who no doubt will have that number hanging in the rafters at some point down the road. But big day on Sunday, and then back-to-back games, I guess, Sunday and Monday for Nebraska basketball. So we will not be on the air, by the way, on Monday night for Nebraska men's basketball. All right, that's going to wrap up hour number 1. Hour number 2, we're going to preview the weekend with Husker baseball, also break down the season opening win with Nick Handley. Matt Coatney will check in as well to dive more into that big win over Oregon for Nebraska women's basketball. So we're back with more coming up right after this.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game, thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
Jake Schrantz back with you ahead of hour number 2 of Sports Nightly for our Sports Ticker, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. It was an up and down night of Husker hoops yesterday. The women's program picked up a huge overtime win over the Oregon Ducks at home, 94-90, while the men's team lost big at Penn State, 89-72. Alexis Markowski recorded a career-high 35 points and a season-high 15 rebounds as she put together her 50th career double-double. The senior drained 6 of the 15 made threes on the night for Nebraska in win number 18 for Coach Williams' squad this season. In Husker gymnastics news, it was announced that 3 athletes would compete in the USA Gymnastics Winter Cup. Alex Natasha, Taylor Christopoulos, and Caden Clinton are headed to Louisville, Kentucky for a weekend of events starting tomorrow and ending on Sunday, February 23rd. They'll be competing against representatives from Michigan, Stanford, and Air Force as these 3 Huskers look to be named for the 2025 national team. The Nebraska beach volleyball program will get underway this weekend, too. They'll escape this frigid weather in Lincoln and compete in Florida against Stetson and Stephen F. Austin. The Huskers are coming off a program record 16-11 record last year. To find out the projected pairs that will take to the stand this weekend, head to Huskers.com for more information. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Let's take it to hour number 2 now of Sports Nightly right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Ball screen by Mia, rejects the screen, has a double on him for the moment, comes to the right on the rescreen by Mia, bounces it inside, and the layup by Worcester, no, the drop off, and the layup is good! Mia, oh my! Mia puts it up, and Nebraska up by 3 with under a minute to go.
Moriarty, she's in the deep right corner, back to Rimdole, high on the right side. 7 to shoot, high lob, caught by Petrie, somehow underneath, in trouble, got to Hank for 3, yay! Gotcha! Huskers made something out of nothing. I don't know how Petrie got it to Kellen Hank, who buried the Central Valley egg 3.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. That ball's lifted into left field. It's deep. It's going back, and that ball is gone. A 2-run blast for Gabe Swanson, and it's 6-2 Nebraska.
The pitch. Tome swings and lifts this one deep down the right field line. It is hooking. It is a fair ball. Grand slam for Tomes. And Nebraska with a 15-1 lead.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly on this Thursday evening. Nick Handley joining us in studio tonight before you head down to Louisiana. You thought you might be escaping the cold, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty chilly down there, even though you're heading more south.
I blame that on myself because all week we were talking about how beautiful it was in Phoenix and in Scottsdale.
Rub it in.
Well, we've done that trip so many times and sometimes been a little chilly or almost, too hot or real windy.
Yeah.
It was 3 days of probably the most ideal conditions, so we're paying for it.
Yeah, golfing weather, right?
It was.
Yeah.
It definitely was, yeah.
Well, I know it was a tough weekend for you and Ben, but you guys handled it so well, as we've talked about. You guys had me in tears a couple different times. Challenging, but it's such a weird deal where you have this loss, but then sports continue and our broadcast still has to go on, and you guys handled it so well, but I got to imagine it was not an easy task for you guys to take on.
No, and I know Ben has talked about it as well, and the whole goal was to go on unscripted because you can't script the emotions you're going to feel in that moment. And being in the broadcast booth, and we had the empty chair in between us, and we start getting into what Greg meant to not only us but to this fan base, to this baseball program. And all of a sudden, just in your mind, you're just flooded with memories. And all good ones. I mean, even in some of the worst games, I was talking to Ben about some of those things we'll always remember Greg for during a broadcast, usually during a commercial break. And there was a game that stuck out to me when it was one of my first times doing games for Nebraska, and it was a game out at Haymarket Park, and Nebraska had walked 18 against Wichita State. And I remember going to break thinking, I need to vent that we can't hit the strike zone and that this isn't happening. And Greg is just kind of humming tunes, and it's almost like how he coped with a game going sideways. And, so all those different memories come flooding in, and, the reality hits you that, he's not going to be there physically. And Ben did such a great job of setting the tone with that. And by the time I was ready to talk, it was hard to get it out. But I think as we started to get more into baseball and get into not only what he meant for all of us, but for so many other people, and then you immediately think of Amy and the girls, and you think of everybody impacted by this. It was tough, but I think once the game started, and the only way it could have gone, a tight game, a lot of drama in the game, and a win against a really good baseball program, you couldn't have scripted it any better. And I thought about it, and Ben and I talked about it on the road trip. If they would have lost that game, I think it would have been a lot more tough.
Yeah.
We would have been sitting on that for a while. And so, yeah, there was definitely moments in that game where you felt him. There was one in the post game that I still don't really believe what I saw, but I saw it with the lights flickering, and we've talked about it, and just a lot of emotions. And I think we kind of that next day we got to the point where we had rested pretty well, finally got some sleep. Sunday had a little more sense of normalcy, and then we got to the ballpark, and then you kind of go through it again. But again, it was a process, still is a process for you and for everybody here, for Josh, and it's just so many people that had, especially with the close relationships. I think you're probably experiencing some good days and bad days.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen for a while, I think.
Yeah, we're going to continue to work through it. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure we'll tell stories. It's just part of the process, but it's a process. I got to imagine too, as challenging as it was to work through that, being with the baseball program had to be a comfort too, because it sounds like a lot of the players, some of them knew him well, some of them didn't, but they all knew the magnitude of and how much that Greg meant to that baseball program. Yeah,
and I'd start with Will. That picture that has been going around where Will and Greg are in the dugout on the bench, and they're sharing a laugh. And then, of course, that picture after the Big Ten championship game where you can tell Greg was emotional and Will was saying something. And I never asked Greg what was said, and I've never asked Will, and I don't want to, because that was a moment for them. But I thought those two pictures that are out there encapsulated what Greg meant to the baseball program, but vice versa, what the baseball program meant to Greg. And I think there definitely was a sense of comfort mourning that loss, not only with Ben McLaughlin, who Greg brought into my life. And Ben is a really good friend. Ben is a true friend. And I knew of Ben. I didn't know Ben until 2016 when I first started doing broadcasts. And Greg was the one who facilitated those broadcast teams. Go all the way back to the very talented Lane Grindle, the very talented Jeff Colhane, and David Gustafson now part of it as well. I mean, there's people that I think do a great job of calling baseball, but also that chemistry as well. And I know that there's so many more moving parts with football when it comes to the broadcast and everything, that there's probably decisions that are made maybe outside of Greg Sharp. But when it came to baseball, when it came to who was in the booth, he had a lot to do with who he was going to be partnered with or who was going to be partnering with other people. And so the baseball part of it, I always said this, he loved those trips because you do get to spend so much time on the road. You get to bond with the coaches, the players. So you really do feel like you're part of the family. Not like not that he didn't during football. Obviously he did, but
it's just a longer trip and it's more intimate.
Absolutely. Quick trip. Sometimes you're sitting through rain delays. I mean, you would talk about bonding moments. You're sitting through rain delays. And so I think it was very fitting that not only was there, when we all got that news that there was games going on and we all had a chance to be together, exchange some hugs and stories about Greg. I think it was only fitting for that. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the weekend overall, opening up, outside of just all the things that went into the win over Vanderbilt, but that was a big win to bounce back after the season opening loss. on Friday night. That was an important win, and I think you saw a lot of really good things in that performance.
No doubt, and I think a guy who's going to be there for Nebraska a lot, and he, on the whole, had kind of a tough weekend, but Gabe Swanson was fantastic. And you needed those those veteran-type players in the offense to pick you up a little bit. And they get out to that 3-0 lead, and that gives Ty Horn a bit of a runway to kind of ease himself into it. But there were some great at-bats outside of Gabe Swanson as well. I think Caden Brumball's done a nice job of setting the tone as well. You look at different parts of that lineup that I think are always going to be really tricky. Max Butenbach, who, again, had kind of a tough weekend, but had the 2-run homer against San Diego State, but he was battling in so many at-bats in that Vanderbilt game. I like what Ty did competitively on the mound, fought through that rough first inning. I mean, leadoff guy comes up, one of the better players in college baseball, and he takes a yard. How are you going to react to that? And I thought he kept his emotions in check. Of course, Tucker, and my goodness, it's a shame he's going to be out for a little bit, but that moment where it could have been so much worse and he's off the field getting tended to, pumping his fist, that bullpen showed something. Jalen Worthley, who I think would admit he didn't have his best stuff in that performance, in that relief performance, just competed to get the outs. So there was a lot of moments where I think Will would tell you this, and I think a lot of the players tell you this, they didn't play their best baseball and still beat Vanderbilt, which was great to see. And then it all kind of came together against San Diego State. I know the competitive at-bats were maybe a bit of an issue against GCU, but all in all, I think the pitching staff between the rotation and the bullpen largely was positive. Boy, Luke Broderick, I know he just got beat on one pitch at GCU, but what he did in the Vanderbilt game as the closer, he is going to be a lot of fun to watch. That ball is moving all over the place and in the zone. So I thought there were a lot of positives. I think you feel like you let one get away against GCU, but all in all, going into that type of tournament, those caliber teams 2-2, it's not a bad place to jump off.
Well, we were chatting before, and we know what Mason McConaughey can do. Not his, I guess, best outing, but he was in that Friday night role and got hit a little bit. But you're not concerned at all about him moving forward in that role? I'm not, and I think that's the competitor in Mason as well. And that's probably the common theme with this entire staff is they want the ball, and if they don't have the performance that maybe they felt they should have, they're going to want to go out there and they're chomping at the bit to get it again. I can't wait to see Mason throw tomorrow night because he had swing and miss stuff first and foremost. I mean, I think he struck out the first 7 of the first 10 batters he saw. So I mean, he did have good stuff with any pitcher. Once you start elevating that fastball just a little bit in the zone, doesn't matter if it's coming at 95 or 88, you become hittable a little bit. So that pitch height that I know Rob Childress will emphasize with him too needs to be there a little bit more often, especially later of the game. But we've seen him be able to do that. And what we also learned from Irvine, not a bad offensive club. Right,
they had a pretty good weekend themselves. So I think he, like others that maybe felt didn't have their best stuff, they're going to be ready to go this weekend for sure.
Well, let's talk about Louisiana. Other than the cold, maybe that you guys might experience a little bit out there. That this baseball team's more used to than Louisiana, probably.
That's true.
But when you're diving into the prep, what do we need to know in this matchup?
Offensively, a little bit of a tough weekend that they had. Now they split. They lost their series with San Jose State, and then they won a Tuesday game. It's offensively a team, though, that has a couple hitters in there, 3 and 4, that are going to be the most effective. But they've got a stud on Friday as far as an ace, and he doesn't get hit a lot too. And I think that's the challenge that Will's had for this team coming off this last weekend is what you're doing in the approach and the at-bats, making them work, getting them into counts, but also knowing if you're getting the pitch you want to drive early in the count, that you're going after it and you're not being passive with it too. I think there's that blend right there that you need. But they got a good staff when it comes to their Friday guy, a couple decent bullpen arms right now too. But offensively, this is where I think the pitching staff for Nebraska can really go after them. I think it's only 4 games, so it's hard to read from what they did in those 4 games, but similar like Nebraska, they left a lot of guys on base. They would probably tell you that they need to have a better offensive showing too. But their 3 and 4 hole hitter, they had a pretty good weekend, and that's going to be the challenge there.
What will be the other points of emphasis? It's not the time you want to be playing your best baseball, right? But when you build off of your opening weekend, what will be some of the things that Coach Bolt will be challenging his guys, other than what you just mentioned, and when they're at their approach at the plate? What are some of the other things they'll want to improve on this weekend?
I think you saw how effective this team is when they ignite that offense early, and we saw that against Vanderbilt, where even with Vanderbilt being able to respond with 2 in the first as well, you still go into that second inning kind of withstanding a haymaker there and still have the lead. That's something good. They had that opportunity against GCU. You have runners in scoring position. You have a first and second opportunity. Bunt doesn't get down where it needs to be, goes back to the pitcher. They get the lead guy at third, and all of a sudden, first and second, 1 out, you're ground ball away. Those opportunities have to be taken advantage of early in the game when it presents it, because like we've seen, and this is where I was so impressed with Nebraska against Vanderbilt. You get those types of arms that Vanderbilt rolled out there. They get out of that first and second inning, maybe a little wobbly, but still there's not a lot to show for it. They start settling in, they start overpowering. And I think GCU, once they got to their third guy in the bullpen, he was able to overpower, and he was keeping Nebraska handcuffed offensively. So I think it's those early opportunities I'm sure Coach Bolt is talking about, of getting that running game going, being able to hit behind runners, situational hitting. Because I think for the most part, did a pretty good job with 2-strike hitting. Strikeouts were a little high, though. But that's kind of college baseball right now, too. So I think right now it's emphasizing innings 1 through 3 when you get runners on, being able to execute at the plate, hitting behind, and the situational hitting, I think, is going to be a big part of it.
Well, I can't let you get out of here without asking you about men's basketball, which we've talked a lot about. Just they're playing with fire a little bit, the way that they were playing on the road, and it came back to bite them at Penn State. But hopefully they can find a way to bounce back when they get back home on Monday against Michigan. But that was not an ideal performance this late in the season and against a team like Penn State.
Well, and immediately I started looking at their schedule ahead as far as how much time they have in between games, because we keep thinking, okay, how much time is it going to take to get Berkey back?
Yeah.
And that's a big miss right now. Mm-hmm. And even in that Northwestern game where they come from behind and win that game, you imagine what they could have done with another big guy in there that can spark a little offense at times too. But you're right. If you go back to Washington, I think that was an anomaly because of the way Washington was shooting, and Nebraska stayed right there around 50%, and they carried that for 40 minutes. You knew that Washington was going to come back down to the mean, and they did. Nebraska wins that game. Northwestern, you're shooting horribly, and Northwestern is doing a pretty good job, but they were turning the ball over. So, again, in that game, I felt Northwestern does not want to win this game. They are giving Nebraska every opportunity to get back in it, and they do. Credit Nebraska for doing that. Last night against Penn State, and I've always said this about the Bryce Jordan Center, it is the place where good basketball goes to die. I mean, it just does. It's that place is too big for Penn State. It's just you have to bring your own energy. When you're down a guy, you're shooting as bad as Nebraska. I don't think you could have banked on, hey, don't worry, we'll turn it back on. It just, especially, and Jessica, you and I have talked about this, you want to start taking on that look of the team you're going to be in the postseason right now. And that's a concern, those first halves. That's a concern. You can live with Washington doing what they did, just shooting lights out that they don't typically do. But when you're shooting at a 30% clip, not getting to the free throw line like Nebraska failed to do, and you have 11 turnovers in the first half, all of those things, that has to be an anomaly. That has to be something that, okay, we're past that, move on. That's why I think these remaining 4 games, obviously from the bubble standpoint, are huge, but also big just to kind of reform that identity that you feel good about going into March.
Yeah, because those committees, they like those teams that are playing well at this time of the year.
Yep.
So you got to start putting that together. And like you said, hopefully get Berkey, Boots, and Gel back sooner rather than later. Well, safe travels.
Thank you.
Go bring us home a few more wins, and that we can talk about on Tuesday. We'll not have a show on Monday, but you'll be back with us on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks for being here with us. Again, Nick Handley here in studio on Sports Nightly. The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. When we come back, we're going to talk women's basketball with Matt Coatney. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Life is busy. Wouldn't it be great if someone could help you manage your insurance?
Well, I do have a lot to keep on top of. Between the house, my life insurance, the car. Like you said, life is busy.
A local Trusted Choice independent insurance agent can help you with your research, coverage selection, pricing, and claims at no extra cost to you.
Which means I'll have more time to spend on other things.
Trusted Choice independent insurance agents. We'll help do your insurance. You just do you.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Life doesn't come with guarantees, but working with Rob Seco comes pretty close. Our strategic investments in the seed we offer are designed to directly improve your bottom line. From full trait platforms, breeding and development, to field-by-field planning and seed-driven crop inputs, with Rob Seco, you have precisely what you need to improve plant performance and increase yield. Every farm, every crop, and every acre. Learn more at robseco.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game, thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Peak pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody. And hey, how about this? What do we owe the pleasure? Second time this week, joined by Matt Coatney, but a huge win last night for Husker women's basketball, as we've talked about. That was a lot of fun inside PBA last night.
Oh, my goodness. I feel like I'm stealing when I get paid to do these games, Jess. That was so much fun. Huskers got down 10-0, then took a 7-point lead, and then got down 14 and won it in overtime. Alexis Markowski went into beast mode last night. It was my phone didn't start unbuzzing until about 12:30 in the morning. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, crazy. So many great things to talk about, but I got to start with, hey, there was no Britt Prince in this game, and this team just never ceases to amaze at the punches that they are dealt and how they get back up and respond and find ways to win despite the adversity that they've been thrown throughout this entire season. And Britt Prince is a big part, and they found a way to win a really important game without her, with her sitting over there on the sidelines.
Yeah, a couple or three things about that. Not only was it no Britt Prince, but you talk about Natalie Potts has been out all year, and then Allison Widener, who was a 2-year starter, has been out. So really 60% of your potential starting lineup didn't go against Oregon last night. And the second thing is Jamie Markowski, Alexis Markowski's mom, came up to me after the game and said, Lex called me last night and said Britt wasn't going to play. And I told her, that's no big deal. You just need to get 40. And she came darn close to doing it. But I think the quote of last night was Amy Williams said, I told my team in the locker room, everybody wants to talk about who's not available tonight. We need to focus on who is here because we have a really good team that's going to play tonight. And I thought that was an absolutely correct way of handling the Britt Prince injury. And that was a significant loss. You're talking about Britt Prince would have been assigned to Deja Kelly, the all-everything guard for Oregon. So the Huskers had to approach that as a team mindset. I just thought it was a perfect example of a team win without Britt Prince last night.
Alexis Markowski was just not going to be denied. We're going to celebrate Senior Day for her on Sunday and a great group of seniors, but she looks like a player that knows her time is winding down and wants to make sure that she's leaving no stone left unturned.
She tied her career high at Illinois on Sunday and then turned around and blew it out of the water with 35 points and a season high 15 rebounds last night. And you're exactly right. She is playing her best basketball as she comes down the stretch. She's a Nebraska kid, a Lincoln kid. She won state titles on PBA's floor. Everybody knows her dad, Andy, was part of this network and played here at Nebraska. So it means a little bit more, I think, to Lex. And she's really playing for these final few games. She went up against Filipina Che, who was a grown person at 6'8" and is hard to go against. And somehow she got 35 points against that very, very tough player and hit 6 threes. Think about that. With Prince out of the lineup, Lex said, I could do this, and drew Che around away from the basket. And that opened up the whole floor for Logan Nisling and Callan Hake and Bertie Rimdahl to hit threes also. I just thought it was as complete a performance as you could ever want to see from a senior.
Callan Hake also just stepped up in a big way, and she had ice in her veins, knocking down some massive shots when this team needed them the most.
40 minutes she played last night. She really was the one who had to step up the biggest, in my estimation, Jess, with Prince out of the lineup. The 3 she hit in overtime where Jess Petrie had the ball underneath the basket and threw one of the best passes I've ever seen out to the left wing. That dagger 3 by Callan Hake was the exclamation point in that win. Callan's defense has probably been ahead of her offense this year, but she stepped up last night, tied her career high with 17 points, but also tied her career high with 7 assists. She set the tone for the offense. The tempo and the tone for Nebraska is what really won the game for them, and Hake was such a huge part of it. I gave her a big hug after the game. I said, you play 40 minutes, and you come down for 14, you deserve a hug. She's just really a leader, not only in words, but what she shows on the floor.
Jess Petrie, I thought was a big catalyst too. She had some massive rebounds that, you want to talk about the threes and Alexis, but I don't know if they win that game without Jess Petrie and some of the big time rebounds that she pulled down.
Boy, you've got that right. And Oregon is a team that you really have to be able to match their size on the interior. I talked about Filipina Che at 6'8", but they've got Muhammad, who comes in as a transfer from Texas at 6'4", and then they've got Rambis, who comes off the bench at 6'2". They have size, they have length, and Petrie was able to help Markowski and Petra Bojan and Kendall Coley in matching that. Also, let's not underestimate her 5 block shots, which were a career high for Jess Petrie. As I told Amy on the postgame show, a lot of people know, most people look at the left side of a box score, which is points, field goals, and free throws. I look at the right side of a box score where you start talking about, I think, the underlying stats that matter: assists, steals, and block shots. 5 block shots for Petrie last night should not be lost on the impact she had in that game, that how much of her presence on the inside really helped the Huskers win that game.
We've seen Logan Nisley really get going too, and she's such an elite shooter and does so many good things, but she struggled a little bit uncharacteristically shooting the 3 in a couple of games. How important is that for this team, for Logan Nisley to get hot from outside, for them to do some of the things that they want to do here late in this season?
Well, just take a look at last year, Jess, the run the Huskers made in the Big Ten tournament to get to the Big Ten tournament championship game. She was a starter down the stretch throughout last year, and they went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Teams have started playing Nebraska a little bit differently. Illinois certainly did it. They said, we're going to single Alexis Markowski, let her get her points, and try to take away everybody else. If Callan Hake is hitting threes and Birdie Rimdahl is hitting threes and Alexis Markowski's hitting threes, then that's going to open some things up for Logan Nisley. And when she's open, she needs to knock down shots, and she did that. A lot of people talk about Melanie Daly at Northwestern. Her nickname, everybody calls her, is Mid-Range Mel, because she only shoots from about that 15 to 17-foot range. I heard that, and I'm like, I'm going to start calling her Long Range Logan because she is such a dynamic shooter from the outside, and Long Range Logan had 5 threes last night. Credit her teammates for doing the things to get Nisley some of those looks, but when Logan gets those looks, she is as good a shooter as there is in the country. She's going to be key down the stretch for the Huskers, just like she was last year at this time of year.
We talked about 2-3 weeks ago, and people were wanting to know, NCAA tournament, what number they should be maybe looking for. And I believe you said 10 wins. And so they got the 9th last night. How just in terms of when you talk about the seeding, which I know you had mentioned the other day that there's still a lot of things to figure out with this women's basketball bracket for the Big Ten tournament. But then even like the NCAA tournament, how important was that win last night for this group?
Monumental. Because right now Nebraska is sizing themselves up against all these teams jammed in the middle, and generally they only play 1 game against each other. Nebraska played 2 games against Iowa. And so the NCAA tournament committee will look at that. Right now, when I look at the bracket, the best case scenario, if everything went Nebraska's way, they could be a 6th seed in the Big Ten tournament. If things went south in the last 2 games, they can fall to as low as 12. A lot of projections have the Big Ten getting 13 teams. I have a hard time saying your conference name is 10 and you get 13 teams in an NCAA tournament. So I think that's a bit high, not for that reason, obviously. But I think the win over Oregon made things a lot more comfortable for Nebraska, that they don't have to really get to the final day of the Big Ten tournament. A little bit of that pressure's off, assuming they at least split the final 2 games with Washington and Northwestern. I think a lot of people are assuming Nebraska is going to go to Chicago and beat a 1-win Northwestern team in the league. And I'm going to tell you, Northwestern's been in every game this year at the end. That's a tough game. Washington, very similar to Oregon. This is going to be a huge game on Sunday, that if the Huskers can get that, then you get to 10 wins in the league and you're over 500. And I don't think the NCAA tournament would leave out a team that's above 500 in the Big Ten Conference.
All right, let's talk about it. Washington, 2 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be a red out senior day, celebrating it. I know it's always very emotional for you on senior day, but break down the matchup first of all, and what are going to be the keys for the Huskers against the Huskies on Sunday.
You know, Tina Langley was an assistant at Maryland for many years under Brenda Freeze, and she runs a lot of multiple types of schemes. Their defense is very, very good. It starts with Elle Ladine, their guard. She can go off for 30 or 40 points very easily. She's a dynamic outside shooter. You can't go underneath the screen on Elle Ladine. They've got very good inside play. Daniels, their center, is one of my favorite players in the conference. She transferred from Cal, and she won't remind you of a classic big like Filipina Chase. She's 6'4", slender, but man, she can run from rim to rim. They're a team. Savia Sellers, their point guard, is becoming a star in this league. They're deep. They play a lot of people. They can come off the bench with size. They can come off the bench with speed. They can come off the bench with three-point shooting. So I think it will come down to rebounding. I think it's going to be a lot like last night where Nebraska won the battle of the rebounds like they did against Maryland. If they can control the glass and get somebody in front of Elle Ladine, like a Kendall Moriarty. If Elle Ladine starts running downhill, getting to the basket, then she's comfortable getting out and start shooting three. If she sees the ball start going through the hoop, then the Huskers are going to have a hard time with Washington. Teams that have beaten Washington generally keep Ladine under control, and I think that's going to be the key matchup in this game. But also on senior day, I've seen some weird things happen on senior days. You just don't know what the emotional impact of that is going to be. I remember going to Iowa State. Lindsey Wilson, their great point guard, went 1 for 18 on her senior day. And that just was her worst day she's ever had. So I'm going to bring a big box of Kleenex. I never make it through senior day without bawling my eyes out. And this group that they're going to honor has meant so much to the program. So I hope everybody can get out there. These seniors deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, it's highlighted certainly by Alexis Markowski, who there will become a day we will hang her jersey in the rafters. You know, I mean, she's just been unbelievable in her career. But it's not just her. This has been a really important group to Amy Williams.
Well, and I think you got to talk about Kendall Coley and Kendall Moriarty at the top of that group also, who become real team leaders. You know, Kendall Coley is known as the best communicator on the team. And then you take a look at what Kendall Moriarty has become, the defensive stopper of this team and a senior leader. And for the last 2 years, the first time I see Camo every day, I refer to that Frisbee 62-footer she threw in a few years ago to beat the halftime clock. And every time she walks by me, I just say, "Nice shot, Kendall." I will miss seeing Kendall Moriarty. They're a great group. They're great leaders. And, yeah, it's meant a lot to Amy Williams. They've had some great success through the years. A lot more basketball to be played. I'm not trying to say that, but there will not be a dry eye, at least from this broadcaster's perspective there on Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned. We always cover that wire to wire here on the network. As soon as the game ends, don't get up and leave and don't turn off your radio, because we'll have that whole senior day ceremony as soon as the game ends.
Yeah, so a reminder, 2 o'clock on Sunday. Get out, get your tickets, support this group. It's a big one in terms of celebrating the senior group. It's a big one at the end of the season. This team still needs to get one of these wins here at the end of the season. So a lot on the line, and just a really big game for this group that deserve a great crowd out there on Sunday. Matt Coatney, Jeff Grease will be on the call starting at 1:30, right, with the pregame show, and then we'll have all the coverage for you all throughout the day on Sunday. Coatney, thank you so much again for being here with us.
Jess, you're the best. I enjoyed it. Take care.
All right, more from Sports Nightly coming up on the other side of this.
Husker fans, if you're looking for a fulfilling career that's financially rewarding and provides flexibility, your local insurance agency is hiring. No matter your skills or interests, there are opportunities for you in the insurance industry. Explore the many ways you can use your skills to protect your community by checking out the IIAN job board. Find your calling and be a part of an industry that makes a difference. Go to IIAN.org/careers today.
Central Valley Ag is excited to introduce CVA Power Flock Layer Feed, the feed that works as hard as your hens. Boost your flock's performance with increased egg mass, a longer productive lifespan, and more sellable eggs. For a limited time, get a free feed scoop with your first purchase of 100 pounds of CVA Power Flock. Visit CVACoop.com to learn more. Our planet is hungry. Together, we feed it. Central Valley Ag, the official co-op of Husker Nation.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. Just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Life is busy. Wouldn't it be great if someone could help you manage your insurance?
Well, I do have a lot to keep on top of. Between the house, my life insurance, the car. Like you said, life is busy.
A local trusted choice independent insurance agent can help you with your research, coverage selection, pricing, and claims at no extra cost to you.
Which means I'll have more time to spend on other things.
Trusted choice independent insurance agents. We'll help do your insurance. You just do you.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody. Just got a couple of short segments left with you here on this Thursday night edition of Sports Nightly. With everything that we've had going on over the past week, we've not had a chance to really Talk a lot about the news that has unfolded over the last week, and there have been reports coming out over the last few days that running backs coach E.J. Barthel has received a contract extension, a 2-year contract extension, and a salary bump, raise in his salary, and it would lock him in through the 26-27 season. And again, reports also coming out that he had interviewed for a couple other jobs across the country at some pretty big programs. And I think that was a really good step for Coach Rohr and Dana Holgorsen to lock him in. I think he's done a really good job with those running backs. The group loves him. And, you know, Dana had talked about back in the bowl preparation how much he enjoyed the staff, liked the staff, thought they did a really good job. And so I retain E.J. Barthel, and he does a great job recruiting. He's a really, really, really great recruiter, builds those relationships. And in this day and age, when you talk about retaining some of these players in the transfer portal day and age, and those a lot of times they enter the portal if their coaches leave. And so, you know, he's got a good group of running backs. Emmett Johnson is a big fan of E.J. Barthel. And then Jamarian Parker, who was one of the big, I think, going to be stars of the signing class back that we talked about back in December. And so Coach Barthel did a really fantastic job recruiting Parker there that probably very well could play as a freshman. He's got a really great relationship with Quentin Ives. So I think that was an important step. And as much as Dana Holgorsen really raved about the job that the entire offensive staff did. And so we'll see how they continue to gel and mesh with this spring football, which will be here right around the corner. So congratulations to E.J. Barthel. I've really enjoyed getting to chat with him, my time with him. And I know that Coach Rohr really thinks the world of him, too. So, again, E.J. Barthel, 2-year extension for the running backs coach for Husker football. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. We're back to wrap up the show coming up after this.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Were you uninvited to game night? Do you play board games with the ferocious intensity of an iron-fisted oligarch? Have friends left game night asking, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Right now, during Mattress Firm's President's Day sale, save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic. Plus, get a $300 instant gift. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or mattressfirm.com for details.
Redefine your luxury shopping experience when you purchase your next vehicle at Genesis of Southwest Omaha. Lease the 2025 Genesis GV80 2.5 Turbo All-Wheel Drive for just $599 per month. Visit our showroom in Village Point or online at southwestomahagenesis.com today. 24 months, 12,000 miles per year with approved credit. Tax, title, license extra. $4,999 down plus first payment and $299 dock fee due at signing. Stock number GG250175. Offer expires February 28, 2025. See dealer for details.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
The signs are everywhere.
It's time for Truck Month at your Midwest Ford dealers. Get $3,000 cash on Super Duty and save on Ford F-150. Both part of F-Series, America's best-selling truck lineup for 48 years. Hurry in, folks. These trucks are running. Drive a new Ford Super Duty with $3,000 cash or 1.9% financing. Only at your Midwest Ford dealers, driven by value.
Welcome back. Final segment of Sports Nightly here on this Thursday evening. Here is What's on Tap, brought to you by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. It's that time of the year. Lots and lots going on across all the sports here at Nebraska. Lots and lots going on here on the Huskers radio network as we have all of our sports, most of them all in action, and a big weekend coming up. We heard Nick Handley at the beginning of this hour, and Husker baseball heads to Louisiana for a 3-game series. Coming up tomorrow night, they'll be on the air with the first pitch at 6 o'clock. Pregame show starting at 5:30. It will be Nick Handley and David Gustafson on the call for that. And stay tuned for the schedule for the rest of the weekend. We're hearing reports that there might be some weather in the area coming in on Sunday, so could be some shifting in the schedule. So stay tuned there. We will, give you those updates as soon as we get them. But are planning with the Friday night action coming up. 6 o'clock first pitch at Louisiana. Softball, the massive weekend in the Mary Nutter Classic continues with the big matchup against UCLA tonight right here on our Huskers radio network. You can listen to that on the app and on Huskers.com. They'll have another ranked opponent coming up on Friday against number 11 Duke, 3 o'clock. And that one, a doubleheader Saturday against San Jose State at 7:30, and then Howard against 10. Again, remember they're on the West Coast, so late night first pitches there, so you can listen to some late night listening with Nate Rohr on those. San Jose State 7:30 again, Howard at 10 o'clock, and they'll wrap things up against Utah there in the Mary Nutter Classic on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Wrestling, hard to believe that wrestling has their final regular season match coming up at Purdue on Sunday, 5:30, and that will be on the Big Ten Network. 5th-ranked team in the country, so the last one before they head into the postseason with the always really massive Big Ten tournament. And then this is a team that I know has got some high expectations, some lofty goals for potential national titles, but last chance to watch them in the regular season on the road at Purdue, 5:30. And again, you can watch that on the Big Ten Network. Talked with Matt Coatney about the big matchup for Nebraska women's basketball. 2 o'clock on Sunday inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. Senior Day, going to be a readout as well as we celebrate just a really, really incredible group of seniors that have been such an important group for Amy Williams, including Alexis Markowski, who, as I mentioned earlier, no doubt eventually we're going to see her number raised in the rafters there at some point or another, just with her name all over the record books. Last chance for you to see her in a Husker uniform inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. So get on out there, huskers.com/tickets to be there inside Pinnacle Bank Arena on Sunday. And then men's basketball on back in Pinnacle Bank Arena after a road trip. They'll be hosting Michigan, 7 o'clock. We'll have the pregame for you here on the Huskers radio network with Kent and Jake starting at 6 o'clock. Another big one as this basketball team needs to get back in the win column, protect the home court. And, we've talked a lot about this here on this network over the last couple of weeks with the stretch that they went on where they lost that losing streak. This is a big win for them moving into March. And when you talk about the NCAA tournament committee and looking at how this team is playing down the stretch, this is an important one. Michigan is another quad one win would be for Nebraska. So one of the few opportunities here on the regular season for them to get a resume building win. So big one, 7 o'clock. Again, pregame here on the network for you coming up at 6 o'clock. So that will bump us out the air for Sports Nightly. We will have a 2-hour show coming up for you on Tuesday night. So that'll be the last chance that or the first time that I'll talk to you here, because we'll have a baseball on the air tomorrow. So have a great weekend. Enjoy all the sports, Husker Nation, and thanks for listening here tonight.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you.